was going to promote that it is getting close to the time where you wear clothes like this, but we're going to go ahead and hop into our first series. We've got LEGIQN and Bartonologist facing off against the boys from LSU, Spectral, and Cluuu. Now, Taylor, I had the opportunity, speaking of landing zones, to watch the LSU guys kind of coming into this game, and I saw a lot of plays coming in from retail row, and it looks like they're going to remain on that same strategy by going retail off the break. And speaking of retail, it seems as if LEGIQN and Bartonologist might be going to the same location. We could see a full squad all going toward one POI.
And not to mention, too, they did have to travel a little bit, but not so far, so there might be quite a few people.
Yeah.
LEGIQN and Bartonologist, though, might be dipping out to these outside houses. Not a bad strategy. Get looted up and then kind of push your way in and control your gunfights a little bit more. But
control
Spectral,
your destiny.
That's exactly it. Spectral, no clue. They're going to go ahead and push in, though, and hopefully they'll be able to find some decent loot. This, speaking of which, Spectral on the top there is in one of my favorite houses to drop. Reason being is you usually have 2 chests. You can pick up some good loot as well, and a couple of mats, of course. But and they kind of push out.
I got to say, I like what they're doing right here. Not many people realize whenever you're collecting resources, you can collect the floor. Like, just grab the floor. Like, you can get 15 mats per almost.
Oh,
it
Spectral's
looks like,
dancing.
Yeah, it looks like the LSU boys are having a little bit of a hoedown here just outside of blue, but as they're going to try to open the fence, they will get an official takedown most likely coming in from Spectral. First one of the game, first blood found, however, not without receiving a little bit of fire. And we talk about these games, Taylor. The big thing to keep in mind if you are a new viewer to the Sunday Showdown as no clue gets dropped for the time is that they are facing off against other squads of 4. We have 2 teams of 2 in these lobbies. And as far as it goes, they're facing off against squads, sometimes in 2v4 and sometimes in 1v4 situations.
You know, and that's crazy to think of. And also crazy to see as we're going to see. Now Spectral's going to drop. And that is not what you want in the beginning. He just got picked up, in fact. And now his partner left up to his own devices. Of course, they're still sitting at 3 eliminations. Not a bad start, but hopefully they can keep it going as he's quickly burning through the mats. He's got to break out and hopefully pick up an elimination. He's going to go ahead and edit out.
Oh, my gosh.
But finding a player, you're hearing the communication between them saying, on me, and he's going to go down already. And the LSU boys are going to finish with 3 total eliminations. And now it's all extra credit from here. LEGIQN and Bartonologist going to the outside houses now, working their way into Salty Springs, seem to be the better answer, at least as of now. But they don't have any eliminations, but they're looking, they're starting their way now.
And that has been the story of Sunday Showdown. That's been the story of these public match tournaments. We talk about, right? High risk, high reward. They play super aggressive, and that's what can happen a lot of the time. You don't really know what kind of players you're going to be facing off against when it comes down to these random tournaments, but it looks like someone decides to propel themselves toward Bartonologist, and LEGIQN is there to take one enemy down as the passive plays, at least for right now, are working out, but a sniper from out of nowhere takes down LEGIQN. Bartonologist, of course, you could argue, is the backpack for this team.
Absolutely.
A lot on the line at this moment. A lot of extra credit that could be granted here, Taylor, if Bartonologist manages to stay alive, but the submachine gun comes through the structures, and Bartonologist falls. That is such a huge
3-1
break for LSU. That is so big for them.
That's great. Yeah, 3-1. LSU got a nice break right there.
They had so quick.
It was incredibly quick. That's one of the fastest rounds we've had yet.
That was like 30 seconds.
I expected LEGIQN to come out guns blazing, especially his adrenaline being so high. He just, I know before the tournament started, he almost got bit by a yellow jacket. So I know for him,
it's just so oddly specific. Like
I know
LEGIQN currently suffering a yellow jacket injury coming into the tournament.
Coach, you guys,
what a story!
If you don't follow him on Twitter, go follow him on Twitter.
I wonder,
that guy is.
If it stung him in his hand, that would be terrible.
It's like
if it's
esports injuries crack me up.
If it stung his thumb.
Yeah,
that'd be horrible because I think he either plays a Nintendo Switch or Xbox, whichever one.
No, he does not do Nintendo
Switch,
at least for these tournaments.
He should be. He's an amazing Nintendo Switch player.
He is probably one of the best
self-deemed
Switch players.
T1 Nintendo Switch player in the world.
Yeah, I think
you got to give credit to LEGIQN.
He cracks me every time, LEGIQN. I keep forgetting that's his secondary name.
LEGIQN happens to be his game.
Man, yeah, but he plays on Xbox controller, I do believe. He's obviously coming from Halo back in the day. Still plays a little bit. He's been streaming some Halo 3.
Yeah. I want to ask you, though, coming into map number 2, or game number 2, rather, like, do you think we see the same aggressiveness come out for both of these squads? Because one went retail, one went outskirts retail into Salty Springs, beat LEGIQN and Bartonologist.
Yep.
Both drop early. Do you think we see the strategies change? Because at least from the games that I was watching from LSU, they were going retail every single game.
Really? Every single game?
Not
okay,
stopping.
well, I mean,
consistent.
obviously their preferred drop. If they're comfortable with it, why not? Keep going with it. But we see how volatile it can be, especially whenever you, because the thing is you can clear out that residential section, and then obviously someone comes and snipes you from the factory section. So there's a lot riding on the line there. But hey, I don't know. If that's their area, we'll see how it's going to work out for them. It's a little bit off the beaten path at this point. They would have to clear the map if they wanted to get over there. So they're going to try something a little bit new, almost threatening, it looks like, to go for that island drop. Of course, that floating island now in between Salty as well as Fatal. It's been moving. It's been moving quite a bit, Landon.
Indeed it has. Very, very interesting island. We got to watch that all actually live go down last week as the mountain was moving and everyone was just in awe of it. But speaking of awe, Legion decides to take a little gander up at everyone gliding down, and there's going to be quite a few opponents here at Greasy Grove, what you could probably assume at least 3 other squads that they're going to have to try to face off against. So kind of an awkward situation to be in, but what a fine hashtag streamer loot, as that's going to be a suppressed assault rifle off the bat and a legendary one as well. What a find from Legion. I'm not going to lie, if I was Legion in the situation, I'm handing this one over to Bartonologist. Like, buddy, you take this. It's not going to be the best in my hands, but regardless, though, despite being knocked down half HP, he does find one. Did he just find it?
He found, Did he
find another suppressed assault rifle?
Found an epic suppressed assault rifle. I like what I'm seeing. The streamer loot is in full effect. He did take some damage.
What an awesome house,
but still sitting all right. Of course, the LSU boys on your screen now. This island drop is so detrimental because of the fact that, of course, there's so much loot. There's so little loot, really, and it's so spread apart. There's very few mats, and that's the biggest thing, too, is how little mats there are. Obviously, he found a little bit, but he could burn through those relatively quickly. They're trapped in this cave now. They've got to find a way to break out.
Yeah, this is the very scary part, is that once you start to push up toward this island, it becomes very volatile because there's constantly enemies who are swinging around this tornado of an island.
Oh, yeah.
And they can really start to bud yourself in, but it looks like they might have an idea as to where this opponent is. Tack shotty in hand, the 87 damage will take down Spectral, but regardless, no Cluuu will still be up, and thankfully they will most likely get that res. But speaking of action, it's still kicking off in multiple locations, now transferring over toward Greasy Grove. It looks like the shot from above as Bartonologist just through the fence takes him down. What big plays coming through from Barton. Both teams right now, Taylor, and loads of action.
Yeah, not bad plays from Bartonologist. You know, he got tagged up a little bit, but he knew he couldn't stop at that point. He had to be aggressive and push forward. Of course, you got to carry Legion. So that's the biggest thing. But phenomenal start for them. Obviously sitting at 3 on the left and then 2 on the right. So I believe that's still going to be a 2 elimination lead for the boys of LSU, but still not stopping over here at Greasy. Now the question is, where do you go from here? Obviously, they're going to be on the edge of that circle. If Bartonologist doesn't survive this, obviously that's going to be game over. But you know, where do you go from here? Are you going to go over to Shifty? You're going to go over to Tilted? Well, we're going to have to see as the story's going to develop. But we got a close game here. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
I absolutely do too. And granted, right now for Legion Bartonologist, they've got a lot of solid weapons to have. But just as we say that, we switch over toward the full cam, as it's going to be the boys from LSU getting an official elimination toward, what do you call this at the very bottom? Is this just the, we have what? It's called Sky Island, and then what's the bottom portion called?
Yeah, maybe the cube, or maybe like
Kevin.
Yeah, call it Kevin. I don't know.
Kevin's burial ground.
I don't know, the activation zone, I guess it could be called. I know it's actually a decent area to land. The reason being is normally it'll spawn 3 chests. You can have up to 3 chests, and a lot of players are going to be distracted by going up top. You go down bottom, get your chest in, organize your loot, and then you can kind of come up and then catch people off guard. So with that being said, tied 6-6, Landon.
Wow.
It's not stopping. Spectral already trying to attack some people up ahead. His loot not looking too bad himself. He also has the Rift to go. Now, of course, if he uses that, gives him a lot of mobility. But, of course, they got to get through this team. We just heard a hunting rifle go off. And that was his teammate, in fact, shooting that. It says this player is unrelenting, pushing forward, but I was a little bit nervous. He was only getting 6 damage off that common tack.
It's nice to see someone else's tack sharding doing as much damage as mine does, but it looks like it is going to be Spectral trying to grab that high ground advantage, doing a few 360s in sequence.
I have no mats here.
Trusty Scar doing so much structure damage, and just like that, full squad taken down, and the loot will come from it. Swap out that regular tack to a much more upgraded one.
Going to the rare attack. You know, there we go. So he picks up the double barrel. Now, mind you, if you guys aren't paying attention, the double barrel was nerfed at least a week and a half ago. Now, Yes, it's still viable. You see it used a lot in pro scrims. The reason being is, obviously, you have those closely contested areas. He drops it. Okay, a rare tack, not a bad idea either, but I've been tearing kids up whenever it comes to the use of the double barrel. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful, but it's also important to come in, get those dink shots, and then follow up with your SMG. Still a very viable option, especially whenever you're facing squads nonstop. It gives you a little bit more firepower. 9-6, LSU leading by 3 currently, and Legion of Bartonologists have, in fact, rotated over to Shifty, but all is going to be quiet so far. And I'm a little bit worried for Legion of Bartonologists. Reason being is they came into the second game. They were already, 2 down, at least at that point.
Like that,
and now Spectral, Cluuu, LSU boys, they're covering more ground, and they're going to be at Salty Springs. Of course, they've kind of cleared that out a little bit, but they have a little bit more viability whenever it comes to rotating.
Right.
Especially using that storm. Such a good way to kind of get your glider out, get your umbrella out, and then travel across the land.
Yeah, I got to say, for all 4 of our players on screen right now, pretty decent weapons. And that's one thing that can really hold quite a few duos back when it comes to games like this, is just not having the loot that, can really get you those gunfights, can really set you apart. And like I said, it can be really unfortunate from time to time if a particular roster is looking really strong, but they end up dying. So with that in mind, it looks as if it will be Legion of Bartonologists making their way toward Tilted Towers, actually.
Yeah, so obviously Bartonologist stream has been offline, but we'll see how the story is going to unfold. Tilted, such a very volatile area to be in, unless you're Aiden, which, of course, he's in our tournament too. So I'm curious to see how the Ghost Aiden is going to go.
He could be here right now, to be honest.
He could. Hey, you never know. He could, in fact, be here if they queued up at the exact same time. Legion on your screen. Grenade's going to be going out. Shots are going to be fired, and these players will be building on top of that new building.
Wow.
But what a shot there from Legion. Not looking too bad himself, as they're going to continue to push forward. But Bartonologist, he's going to take the reins. He's going to be the first one to go in hot.
Yeah, Legion trying to provide a little bit of support from the back lines as pyramids, every single structure this opposing team can try to have to maybe drink a few shields, apply a few of those bandages.
Really bad FPS right now.
Tossing them down, desperately trying to do anything they possibly can, realizing the score at hand. Legion still peppering a few bullets, but this team in Tilted is not going down easy.
Not at all, as Legion doing really well, but gets tagged up a little bit. And he goes down now, all up to Bartonologist. Of course, we can't see his perspective as of yet. We can only see it, and there he is. He's going to go down, and with the reaction, I think that's going to be it for Legion and Bartonologist. They're not going to move on, and the LSU boys are going to make a, I wouldn't say upset necessarily against Legion and Bartonologist, but they're looking pretty dang good. Very solid overall. LSU boys, incredibly, incredibly powerful.
My brackets,